All right, I'm really looking forward to this episode, if you will, in our Leaders Who Care series because it's all about a lot about the mind that we're going to get into here. Not too technical because I can't handle that, but somewhat. So, Chad, welcome to the Leaders Who Care series.
Mark, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here wearing flip-flops with you on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, you had to give it away, huh? Nice.
I figured we would disclose that up front.
Yeah, and since I don't do any editing, now I can't take that out. All right, good enough. For the audience, we're not going to prove it by showing you, but it's we're assuming it's true. So, best place to start, Chad, is to talk about Florida. And is that where you got your name from, Chad?
Not from Florida, no.
You
No.
know what I'm talking about. The elections way back, and they were counting the
Oh, that was a
Chads,
good joke, actually. I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, there were the hanging chads, but that
hanging
was a
Chad.
little bit after my time because I think that was the 2000 election, if I'm not
That
mistaken.
was I think it was Gore and Clinton was no, it was Gore and Bush probably.
Bush. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
the Channing. So I thought I'd throw that in there. But no, I'd love for you to briefly introduce yourselves. And I always have an asterisk with most of the men because generally the first thing they tell me is their position and what they do. But that's not actually the question. The question is, who are you, Chad? Where are you from originally? Where you are now? Things you feel comfortable talking about your family? Maybe something you've never told anybody that you want to reveal to the world now. That's always fun. So tell us a little bit about you.
I appreciate your approach to that. And yeah, I think I would start by just saying from Baltimore, Maryland, and I grew up in a wonderful household, had great parents. I'm a middle child, and interestingly, I'm the only child that did not go into the family business, which was music. So I grew up around classical music. Both my parents are symphonic musicians. And my older brother is a music teacher, and my younger sister is a graphic designer. And I was the odd child out that pursued a career in business and finance, and can talk about more of that whenever it makes sense.
You look like a rock star. You wouldn't have been a rock star.
That was the other pathway that I explored in high school. I was in a rock band and played guitar and was a singer. And our claim to fame was that we would play a concert every year for one of our friends' older brothers who had some songs on the radio, and he was actually quite popular.
Wow,
So we got to open for them. So the biggest crowd we ever played for was 500 people, but that was a lot of fun.
that's
And
cool. That's super
maybe
cool.
maybe sometime in the future, we'll revive that.
You can call the band, I don't want to give it away too early in this podcast. You can call the band Supermind.
That's right. That's right. That
Nice.
was good branding. Yeah.
So tell us about family a little bit. Do you have a family?
No, not yet. Single, no kids. Would love to have a family at some point. But yeah, it just hasn't happened yet. I think
Should we
I'm,
put the credentials? Should we talk about the credentials of what you're looking for, or is that another time?
well, yeah, beautiful, smart, driven, wonderful, kind, loving woman that wants to have a supportive partner and live a wonderful life together.
Love it. Okay, we'll see what happens. If it happens, there is a search fee that's applied.
I
Um,
think Mark, you're going to be giving a speech at the wedding, actually.
oh, great to know. What about where are your parents still around? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, parents are still around. They're in Baltimore, Maryland. My mother's actually still playing in the orchestra, and she's one of the oldest members in the symphony. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
My dad's retired, but he's a wonderful human being as well. And we
Well,
got
he
a chance
didn't.
to
Of
go.
course, he's a wonderful human being still. Just because he's retired doesn't mean but. You know.
Yeah, he didn't lose that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got a chance to go on a nice father-son trip. To Peru. We went on a backroads organized tour, and for those who don't know backroads, it's kind of like outdoor activities. So they have hiking and biking, and we went through. We went
Did
to
did
Machu
I was
Picchu,
going to
and
ask? You got up to Machu Picchu?
yeah, yeah, that was beautiful.
Did you go up the winding thing up there?
We went up a few winding things. There was one that was an hour and a half incline, and it was pretty brutal. But when you get to the top, you just have this beautiful view of, I think it's called the Sun Gate. You can see Machu Picchu kind of looking down, and we had a nice clear day where the sun was coming through. So it was
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and that's a great experience. Do you have siblings?
I do, yeah. Older brother. So he's also in Baltimore.
Oh,
He's got
that's
two
right.
kids, so I have two nieces. He's a music teacher, and then my sister is living in Philadelphia, and she also has two kids, so two nephews on their side.
Oh, so you got practice for later with the nephews and nieces.
For sure. And I will say it was the because I've had a lot of friends that have had kids, great friends from high school, college, and from my years in business school that have all gone on to have kids. And I didn't fully understand what the schedule was like until this past Christmas. I was home visiting with family in Maryland, and my sister was there, and she had just had her second baby boy. He was about 6 to 9 months. And I had one day where I was on their schedule. And so I woke up at 6 or 7 and I got to see the whole cycle of nap time, meal time, playtime, two kids, different schedules, and just how exhausting it was for them, but also how fulfilling it was. And so that was the first time I kind of like got it, like, oh, this is what it would be like to be a parent.
Okay, now you decided no kids for me.
It wasn't too bad. I was like, hey, I could do this.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So what were you like as a kid? Were you the lemonade stand guy or organizing kids or just computers? What were you like?
I was the lemonade stand guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
I was. I started a lemonade stand at some point, probably in first or second grade. And I also sold candy on the school bus when I was in elementary school. I remember I could buy it from Costco and then sell it, for double the price or whatever.
On the school bus.
Yeah, like in the back. I would have my stash of, Bubblicious gum and Kit Kat bars and whatever else, making, a few dollars here or there.
That was one of the original mobile offices then.
That's right. Yeah, it was virtual.
Not bad. What kind of margin did you make?
It was high. Because you could buy a whole pack for 25 cents and it had 5 pieces, and then I could sell each piece for 25 cents. So it was like, 5x markup or something like that.
Very impressive. Did you try to franchise that to all the buses?
No, I got a little distracted with all the other fun activities. Played soccer, played basketball, baseball, and I played music as well. I played piano since I was 6,
Hmm.
and and that was also a part of growing up in a musical household.
So what then, if you did all that, the sports and the selling in the buses and the whole family with music, and then you went into finance and accounting, studying finance and accounting. Why?
There was a moment, I remember I was 14 and my parents wanted me to go to this prestigious arts academy for the summer. It's called Interlochen, and many musicians and artists and other forms of art people go there.
Hmm.
And I didn't, it didn't really appeal to me that much for some reason. I wanted to do something else with my summer. I actually wanted to play sports. I wanted to play basketball, and I wanted to just, stick around at home and spend time with friends. So that was a little bit of a point of tension where I kind of really had to make a stand for myself because they were like, no, we know better. Like, trust us. Like, you should definitely go. You're gonna love it. And I remember really pushing back, and that was kind of the first digression from the family path,
Hmm.
14, and then from there it was kind of like a blank canvas. Like, well, if I'm not going to go into music professionally, then what am I going to do? And I didn't really know, but I knew that I loved people and I also liked math. And so as I was looking at what I would study in undergrad, the idea of studying business made sense. And that is initially what attracted me to a business major. And then when I got there, finance, just more interesting from a math perspective. And then I also did the degree in accounting because I had to do some extra credits anyway, and it just made sense for the career that I started to envision.
No, I can get it because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but not it wasn't necessarily sciences for me. But long story short, I went for my bachelor's and then I went for my CPA, and only because I thought it would be a good foundation for whatever I end up deciding I want to do and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I can get it. And um, how did you end up then? And I was just trying to remember you kind of went into the equity business, if you will. Um, you know, is that because they recruited you, or did you specifically look to do that? Versus, for example, I went into Deloitte out of college, um, just because it was a good place to as a foundation for me. Did you pick going into an equity firm, or how did that happen?
It happened somewhat towards the end of the recruiting cycles. I didn't know much about investment banking until I was a rising senior in college and starting to look for full-time opportunities. And what attracted me to it was the challenge of it. I'd always loved to challenge myself, and from what I could understand, it was one of the most challenging careers that one could have. And also, to your point earlier, like would set me up for other things that I might like to do as a
Hmm.
foundation. So that was really what drove that decision, and thankfully was able to break into a firm. Coming from the University of Maryland, where I went to undergrad, was a non-target school, so it was very difficult to get interviews at the top banks, which required some creativity, kind of crashing some of the career fairs of some of the big schools in the area. But of course, they liked that because it showed initiative. But
Yeah.
that did take a lot of work just to get the interview, and then ultimately to land it was very cool and an achievement just in itself.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that because people do look who's differentiating themselves and how. And
mhm.
if you really want it, you'll go for it. And because at the end of the day, there's a lot of good qualifications coming out of a lot of these schools. So what is the differentiation of a person that they look for? I also had noticed at one point there you you were a founding, I guess, founding team on the U.S. anesthesia partners. Is that because after working at the private equity, anesthesia sounded like a good idea?
I needed it. No,
Yeah.
that's funny. No, it was a natural extension of what I did in private equity. So after the 2 years in banking, I went on to work at Welsh Carson. There's a private equity firm in New York City, and
Hmm.
was on the founding team of the buy and build platform that became U.S. Anesthesia Partners. And after spending 3 years at the firm, I decided to spend a year directly working with that company, helping to lead some of their M&A business development activities. So it was similar to what I was doing at the private equity fund, just doing it directly for the company.
It's fascinating to me, which is why I love hearing the stories about what comes from being a kid and the thread that pulls through and how you didn't necessarily want to be in music, but you liked music, but you also liked people, and then you got finance, and it sounds like you've kind of come through all that into something where you've combined things that you like, in a way. I mean, with respect to, you founded Cuba Candela, which is a social impact travel. So it's business, but it's also people that you're talking about. And then, so I'd love to hear a little bit about how you founded that, but also then talk more about, which I find totally fascinating, Supermind, which is totally about business and people, deeply about people. So how did the travel thing come up, and why is it what do you mean by social travel? And
Mhm.
then we'll go on to the rest.
Yeah, so the origin story of that company is after spending 6 years working in financial services, I'd gotten into Harvard Business School, which was a dream come true. And I also had another dream, which was to travel and take some time off to really have a proper sabbatical or even like a backpacking trip. So I did that. I left the job at US Anesthesia Partners a couple months early, and that had a couple months already booked for the summer before classes started. And I went to Southeast Asia. I booked a one-way ticket, started in Thailand. I had one night hotel booked, and then the rest of the trip was pretty spontaneous. Nothing was really planned, and I would just take it one day at a time and just had all these wonderful experiences, meeting interesting people and engaging with interesting cultures. And two things happened on that trip. One was that I had this experience in Tibet. Tibet is an area of China. It's a very spiritual area. It's very remote. It's kind of hard to get to. And I was
Right.
in one of the sacred sites where these pilgrims go on a once in a lifetime journey to worship at these temples. And I distinctly remember there was an old woman there who when she saw me, she just immediately just broke into this radiant smile, and just this joy filled her just at the sight of seeing someone that looked completely different from her. And it was just so welcoming because, my predisposition was that if I was in someone else's sacred place, I would be in some way infringing upon their space or encroaching as an outsider. And it was the complete opposite, just this total acceptance of me being there. And that honestly touched my heart. And it made me feel this global unity, which is that there's so much that unites us as human beings
Yep.
compared to the differences that we have and the diversity that we have, which is beautiful. And so that inspired me to want to create similar experiences for travelers where they could feel that common human connection and bond that we share as human beings. And then the reason why I started the company in Cuba was because it was another challenge. And it seemed at the time like a really good market opportunity because it was opening up,
Hmm.
right? For the first time in 2014, right when I was thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, stepping away from the financial services field, doing something that I felt a bit more personally fulfilled by, making an impact. That was a calling that I started to have growing within me, as well as wanting to be an entrepreneur. And so those started to all intersect. And then Cuba was there with the opportunity. And so I went for it. And to keep a long story short, I having just gone to these countries in Southeast Asia and worked my way through without knowing the language or really anyone there, I thought I could just do that in Cuba and spin up a company offering travel services only with the private sector, not with the government. And that hits on why it's social impact. So it's more of a humanitarian style of
Hmm.
travel where every dollar spent in the country goes directly to the local businesses, and that helps give them very important economic opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah.
And then to close out the short version of this story, I started to experience a lot of stress and anxiety and sleep issues and health issues because in my nascent years as an entrepreneur, 1 year into it, I was trying to replicate the mental model for success that I had used in the private equity world as an entrepreneur in this country where entrepreneurship was very difficult, and it caused a lot of internal turmoil. I put so much pressure on myself, and anyway, that led to a personal need to search for innovative mental health solutions. I tried therapy, I tried medication, and I had a good meditation practice from having gone on the 10-day silent retreat during the backpacking trip, which is the second thing I was going to mention about that. But none of it really worked. And so I was looking for something new, and I got connected with the inventor of a new mental health treatment, and it worked really well for me. So that inspired me to then start a company and help others to gain access, which is what Supermind is.
Yeah, they say things happen for a reason, and I actually truly do think that they do. But you also have to, when they open up, you got to recognize that it's there, type of thing also, which you did. But isn't it a funny road or path to get to a place where you meet a guy that has that takes you to Supermind, whereas you could have turned one different way at some point and never met that person. Maybe something else great would have happened. But it's absolutely fascinating. So tell us, because it's fascinating when you first described it to me. Tell us what Supermind is and where you're going.
Totally, yeah. So we offer two services. The first one is brain mapping. And the brain map is a snapshot of how your brain works, how your brain is functioning. And it can show different patterns, different areas of the brain where someone might feel stuck. What's really cool about that is to be able to observe your brain patterns externally by looking at them on a page helps people to break out of the patterns that they might otherwise have felt that they were immersed within or stuck within. And that's the first step of greater empowerment that we offer people with our services, that nobody is stuck with their brain patterns. We all have the ability to rewire our brain through neuroplasticity. And
Amazing.
this it's so cool. It's so cool. And I'm a beneficiary of that myself. My brain was in total chaos when I first found this, and I was able to calm a lot of these patterns and thoughts and habits of anxiety down significantly.
And what's the status? So what's the status of the company now? You're in growth mode. What's the plan?
Yeah, so we're growing. We have a center in Miami, and we've just opened up a second location in New York City. We also provide services up to Palm Beach, all the way throughout the South Florida area.
Hmm.
And we've gotten some great interest from mental health facilities, longevity centers, and med spas to offer our services. So we have our direct to consumer business model, and then we're also developing a B2B solution that they can offer directly in their facilities.
And speaking to all different types of people, what happens if they're interested in it? So they go to one of your centers, and then what happens when they walk in?
Yeah, so they come into the center and they're escorted to a very comfortable room with nice essential oils and a comfortable chair and a poster talking about gratitude and nice bookshelf of personal development items. And it's meant to be a very safe and warm space. And then we will have a technician that comes into the room and places EEG sensors onto the person's head. And these are sensors that are around for decades, and we're just applying their technology to a different use case with the mind and with mental well-being. And so we then conduct a neuro assessment. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes. We ask different questions just to get the brain working around math, around reading comprehension, and that helps us set a baseline so we can compare everyone that goes through that same standardized protocol.
Hmm.
That completes the assessment. And then in that first appointment, we also do what we call a mind massage, which is this really relaxing nervous system reset. For those that are familiar with sound healing, it's like a personalized sound healing. We have these great tracks. We work with a sound healer, and each track is mapped to the brain to each brainwave frequency, and so it's personalized based on your brain waves in real time, and that also functions as a neurofeedback session. So we do that for about 20, 30 minutes. That concludes that first appointment, and then we review the results, usually the next day over a Zoom call.
And then you would make recommendations of some kind, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that leads into the second service that we offer, which is personal development programs. And those programs are informed by the brain map. So we take the brain data and the brainwave indicators, and then use that to personalize the personal development program along with the person's goals. But for example, if someone comes in and they have elevated delta waves, delta is the lowest brainwave frequency, and this is responsible for unconscious processes in the body, cellular division, organ systems, and also our survival instincts, our fight flight response, which happens automatically. We're not necessarily thinking about that reactivity. So if someone's delta waves are elevated, perhaps they're at 50% of their brain, then 50% of their brain is in survival. That can be a good way of understanding why someone like that might feel a lot of stress and anxiety. And we
Hmm.
would personalize the program that helps them bring their delta from 50% down to 40% or even 30%, which unlocks 10 to 20% of your brain energy to go from survival mode or fight flight into something else. And that something else is often focus and happiness, which is beta and alpha. And there's creativity, there's flow state, there's other
Sure.
aspects, but those are kind of the rough categories of how the brain can reallocate and rewire its resources.
It's spectacular because if you're in survival mode, nothing happens basically except trying to survive, and it's exhausting and everything else. So the fact that you're able to do that, what's the competitive nature of what you do with respect to other competitors out there doing similar things, other things?
There's a couple clinics. The ones that are the most well known are 40 Years of Zen by Dave Asprey. So some people know about this center. It's in the Pacific Northwest, and they do some intensive brainwave training. And the other one is Bio Cybernaut Institute. Jim Hart is the founder. That's in Sedona, Arizona, and they also do these intensive brain training. But other than that, the
Hmm.
landscape of brain training and neurofeedback has been quite fragmented, and the methodologies that are being used are quite different from the way that we've developed our program. So nobody has really yet broken through with a, let's say, scaled solution that is widely accessible outside of just the individual practitioners and a couple of these other centers that I mentioned.
No, it's amazing. So couldn't you could effectively put your services into as many places as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a business model that allows that scale. So it's just a matter of finding the right fit, the right partner, and then the right end customer that we can support with whatever their needs are.
Cool. I might have to get my brain mapped and see what happens. Could be scary. I don't know. The last couple of questions, because they say in LA you got to keep them wanting more so we can do a sequel. That's what they say anyway. With AI coming fast and furious, how how do you see the impact of that?
Well, I use AI regularly, natively in the business, and I think there are tremendous benefits that can be offered to society by using AI as a tool to accelerate the timeline between idea to execution. That being said, I think there are also negative, unintended consequences that can arise from this, such as over reliance on it, particularly in young people that might otherwise be using critical thinking skills and they're
Right.
kind of outsourcing that now to AI. So I think, like with other technology, it's important that we have a healthy relationship with it. And it's incumbent on us as individuals to figure out how that works and what that means for us. And I think because AI is so powerful, it actually makes it more important to do that. We've seen some of the negative effects of social media, particularly on the younger generation. And so with AI, to avoid that from happening, um, my offering or my invitation is more mindfulness, more intentionality, more mental tools like meditation and like nervous system training and regulation. And so that's where I hope that Supermind can be part of the solution to helping humans evolve themselves, evolve their capabilities, evolve their mental faculties and capacities alongside the technology. And in so doing, be able to have a healthier relationship with it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But with everything that's happened from COVID to now, and some people find it hard to believe COVID was 6 years ago, even because it almost feels like yesterday. And the good stuff you're doing now and making a difference, obviously, with that, because there is a lot of stress, a lot of survival, a lot of everything going on in our brains these days. But with all that said, what are you most grateful for, and what are you most hopeful for?
I would say I'm most grateful for there's funny, there's different ways I want to answer that. So I want to offer a couple lenses through which to
Sure.
answer. I want to first say I'm grateful for myself and the courage that I've had to face some of the challenges, the mental health challenges that I've experienced, and come through the other side, and just continue to commit to self improvement and loving myself and accepting myself. And I'm very proud of myself for doing that. And I'm grateful.
That's
Um,
good.
the second thing I would say is I'm really grateful for my team members that I work with. They're so dedicated to our mission, and without them, we couldn't do it. Grateful for my family members. I feel that in my journey around mental health and healing, and I feel like I've gotten closer with my parents and my brother and sister, and so I'm really grateful for them. And friends and family, or I guess I said family already, so
You can say
friends,
it again. It's worth it.
family again, extended family. And what I love about this question is that gratitude is like a muscle, and when we get to flex it, and pay attention to things we're grateful for, it is part of the toolkit for well-being. And so with friends, I just would say I'm so grateful for the friends that have stuck by me throughout all the challenges, and even when I completely disappeared for months or even a couple of years because I was so head down on entrepreneurial things, being able to call them and have them pick up the phone and still be there to support me has been invaluable. Has been priceless. So they provide that support structure for me.
Yeah, friends are big time. So, what are you most hopeful for then?
Most hopeful for is the let's say the path that humanity is on, going in a positive direction. I'm truly hopeful that we are heading in the right direction. I know in these times there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and things that may seem like they're chaotic or even worse. And I certainly acknowledge a lot of the pain and challenges that people are experiencing right now. But I do feel very hopeful that humanity is on an arc of increasing progress, well-being, and that's certainly something I focus on, that I like to be a champion of, and just bringing more positivity to people's lives and to the world.
Yeah, right on, man. There's a video somebody showed me recently of Charlie Chaplin, which is before both our times almost. He did a speech in one of his movies. He would dress up as Hitler in some of his movies, which got him into trouble. But he did a speech that was spectacular. It was about moving away from aggression and hate and greed and this and that and the other and coming together as humanity. That's a quick description of a much longer speech, but he did
Mm.
it decades ago, decades and decades ago, and it's still kind of the same story to some degree. But I like I think humanity has there's so much more humanity than inhumanity, if you will, that we should go for. Well, I'm grateful that I have a new friend. I'll start with that. That's a good thing to be grateful for because you can't have enough good friends that you can call 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "I need help." And And I'm also hopeful that I'm both grateful and hopeful that you are a leader who cares, and you went through a journey that could be destined, for lack of a better word, to get to this point for a reason. And that's what leaders who care. That's what happens with leaders who care. They care so much that even though they might have been ensconced in a business or something, but the cares somehow still keeps coming out, which is good. So way to go, man. And thank you for being that, and thank you for being on the Leaders Who Care series.
It's been a pleasure, Mark. Appreciate all the questions and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit more.